Hi, it is Jo from Minerva, and today we're going to do a video which answers lots of people's questions about putting a sleeve into a sleeveless garment. You can't just put a sleeve into a sleeveless garment from a pattern, because the cut of a sleeveless pattern and a sleeved pattern is different. The arm cyc is a different shape, and if you try to fit a sleeve into a sleeveless pattern shape, you will come across all sorts of problems. If you do want to put a sleeve into a garment, then you need to change the armhole shape first before you put your sleeve shape in. To help us understand this a little bit more, we're going to look at a dress with a sleeve in, which I've tried to change, and we're also going to look at a flat pattern sheet so that we can understand all the anatomy of a sleeve. I've got a sleeve here from a vintage pattern because it's got really nice thick writing and really good markings that we can see and recognise. So this is a sleeve, and it has a sleeve head point at the top. So this is the top of your shoulder in the centre point, and that's just where your bone here, if you put your finger on it, you can feel the hinge. It's not right up on your shoulder and it's not off the edge, it's right on the join. And that's important because that will mean that you get a really good silhouette across your shoulders. You might have two marks that show the easing area. So this is the area that you can add ease to create a 3D shape that makes the top of your shoulder a curved shape, because if you try and put a flat sleeve in, you'll get really restricted movement. You've got two notches for the back and one notch indicating the front. And the line isn't on here, but from your underarm to underarm, you would draw an imaginary line, and that is your sleeve height. So you need to make sure and measure, if you're getting trouble with sleeves on a regular basis, you need to check whether you have the sleeve height that matches your sleeve pattern. This one has been cut and split and changed to a different size, but this pattern also has a sleeve dart, so this is a very fitted sleeve. So when that dart is closed up, then the sleeve makes a sort of natural curved shape of our arm here for where the sleeve has to bend a little bit at our elbow. So those are all the parts of a sleeve. And if we remove this bit for now and just look at this bit, and we can put sleeves from other patterns into sleeveless patterns, but we do have to check a few things first. If you want to draft a sleeve completely from scratch, the maths involved is massive. You need to take lots of measurements, you need to know lots of sleeve points and match them all up. So I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to show you, if you've got a pattern that's sleeveless and you want to add a sleeve, then how to try and get a sleeve from another pattern and fit it into your sleeveless garment. So this is the green line here is the shape of a sleeveless top. And you notice it's quite flat at the bottom here, and that's because a sleeveless top has quite a flat bottom on it. A top with a sleeve comes much more into your armpit, and that's so that you have really good movement. The height from your shoulder down to your armpit is crucial. That's the bit that makes sure you don't have a baggy bit here, or it's not tight and restricted and pulling across your bust. So this length here on a sleeveless top is a little bit more open and wider, but when you put a sleeve in, it curves round and comes much more into your underarm. You're looking for a point here that's about 3/4 of an inch from your underarm. If you make it longer, because some people think, oh, I need a bigger armhole, so I'll make the armhole bigger, you actually restrict your movement. So this is a dress that I've been working on. It's a toile and it's not going very well. And the reason is I'm not getting the right fit across the arms. So the first thing I haven't got right is I haven't got this long enough. So when I wear it, my shoulder is forcing its way into that area there, rather than the shoulder coming to there and then the sleeve going over. The next thing that I haven't got right is this line here that we just talked about on that cutting mat. from the top of the arm to the underarm is too long, far too long. So when I'm wearing it, I get a sort of springy space here and it stops me from moving my top. I'll put it on and I'll show you what I mean. I've got too much here because the armhole is too low, so you can see too much of my shoulder is in that sleeve head, so this is too short. This is too long, it needs to go up into my arm to give me better movement. At the moment it's so long that I've got all of this spare space here, and it makes this here a piece of sort of trampoline that's stopping me moving. So you want to make sure that your sleeve height is right, so from the top of your shoulder down to your underarm and not much lower. It's sort of counterintuitive to make your sleeve bigger so it's less restrictive, but actually you need to make it more snug so that you can get full rotation of your arm. Here's the sleeveless pattern piece. We've got that flat underarm shape. Let's move our underarm seam up by, let's say 1.5 centimeters. And that's closer now into the underarm. I'm also going to make the shoulder seam wider and grade that back into the neckline because I don't want to spoil the neckline. I've got a wider shoulder seam now. I can use a French curve to mark out the new shape. I'm going to take a pattern piece from the indigo dress, which I like the shape of, and the underarm curve needs to be about the same shape, so nothing to mess with there. And then as you walk the pattern round, you want to test that your sleeve head point is getting to your shoulder seam. If it's a bit bigger, it doesn't matter because you can add some easing stitches to gather the sleeve head in. Another test, just going to see if I need to add any more. I'm a little bit short there. I could ease in, but I might get some wrinkles, so I'm just going to add a little bit more on the shoulder seam and grade back to the normal size. Finally, I'm going to add the seam allowance back in. If I chose a different sleeve pattern, this is a very fitted sleeve, and when I rotate this, I'm only just getting to the top there. This is much steeper. If you have a top that is ready-made or a top that you've made in the past with facings on the sleeveless armhole, you can try it out. So you could cut out a sleeve in some practice fabric, sew up the side seam, pin it in and see whether you can take the easing around the shoulder, see if it's fitting okay here. You can adjust quite a lot of fitting in a sleeve. So if it's something ready to wear and say you want to add a lace sleeve for some arm coverage because you bought a bargain top, then you can do that. You might have to add a gather in the upper sleeve, which will give you a slightly different silhouette where you've got a gathered sleeve here, but that will help to get a sleeve pattern from a previous design into a ready-made top or a top or dress that you've made in the past, but now you want to add sleeves. It's all about the trial with sleeves, unless you want to go down the road of completely drafting a new sleeve pattern. You can do the same processes with stretch woven fabrics. So this was a t-shirt that I had which had a mark on the sleeve, and I cut the sleeve off, used that as a template and recut another one and inserted it in. And it's much easier with stretch fabrics because you don't have to worry quite so much about the sleeve head. You can stretch it to fit the gap a little bit more. Or again, you could try the method where you get a a sleeve piece from a stretch pattern and put that into your sleeve. So that's a new sleeve to replace one that had a mark on. Of course, I had to take the other sleeve off and make 2 sleeves the same. Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that's given you some ideas to explore if you want to put a sleeve into a sleeveless top or dress. We would love to see any of your makes, sleeveless, with sleeves or otherwise. So do make yourself an account and share your makes over at minerva.com. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon.